Alexander Isak has been yellow flagged ahead of FPL Gameweek 21 with a potential hamstring injury. We're going to be talking about that in the video, and we have got a lot of injury news to get through ahead of the next game week and what the plans are for FPL Gameweek 21 and what the best thing is to do regarding captaincy and regarding transfers on the last minute if you haven't already made your transfers. And I said at the start of the week, if you make your transfers, you're going to put yourself in a spot of bother because there is FA Cup and Carabao Cup games. There's always a chance of injuries. And as you can see, there has been numerous injuries. If you're an FPL fan and you're not subscribed to this channel, please do hit subscribe down below for all the latest FPL content and news. And drop a like as well while you're down there. That would be very much appreciated. And starting off with Gabriel Jesus, who picked up an injury and went off on a stretcher against Manchester United yesterday for a challenge on Bruno Fernandes. And Mikel Arteta had to say with Gabriel Jesus, it's a big worry. That is his feeling. He said he had to come off on a stretcher touching his knee, so unfortunately it's not looking good. Pretty much Jesus is guaranteed to be out for next game week at least, and he's going to be out for, chances are, quite a while. So if you're a Gabriel Jesus owner, chances are he will not be available for the next match against Tottenham, which means if you've got somebody first on your bench, you can put them on. Or if you want to get rid of Jesus and maybe bring in a potential replacement around his price point, Mateta looks good at around 7 million. Cody Gakpo's got a double game week in game week 24 as well, which has been confirmed. And as well as that, you could also go for a Chris Wood who's at a similar price. There's a lot of players you can go to, and you can even go down to Raul Jimenez. We'll talk about him later on in the video. But there's a lot of potential replacements, there's a lot of decent enough options for Gabriel Jesus, but pretty much from what looks to be, he will be out for quite a while with that injury. Now we may as well talk about Raul Jimenez, and that is actually a strike partner, Rodrigo Muniz, who picked up a back injury in the first half of Fulham's FA Cup game against Watford, and he got subbed off at half-time due to that, and Raul Jimenez did come on for him and scored a penalty as well, got his 10th goal of the season. So it says he will be assessed ahead of West Ham next week, so we'll have to wait and see with that one. If Muniz is actually confirmed out injured before the deadline, I think Raul Jimenez is such a great option at 5.7. He's been starting pretty much every week anyway, and with Muniz potentially being injured, it only boosts Raul Jimenez as an option in FPL. And as I say, Fulham are they're a top side, they're a quality side, Fulham are. And if Raul Jimenez has got absolutely nailed minutes, his minutes are pretty nailed anyway, but obviously you have that doubt with Muniz being there because Muniz is also a quality striker. But if Muniz is that injured, Raul Jimenez for me at that price point is by far and away the best option at that price point. As for Joao Pedro, just before the Brighton game in the FA Cup against Norwich at the weekend, we did get an update with Joao Pedro, and Fabian Herzler did say that he twisted his ankle in training and they are waiting for the MRI results to confirm the extent of the injury. So wasn't looking good before the game against Norwich, but Joao Pedro did actually come out and tweet an update on his situation. And the update on that situation was that he said on his actual Twitter account, he said the scan was okay, and then he just tweeted about the rest of the game. But the scan being okay absolutely doesn't mean that he is going to be available for the match that Brighton have against Ipswich next, because he could just say the scan was okay as in it's not as bad as what they first feared. It could have been like maybe they thought initially it could be a month, and maybe only now it's a week out and he might miss the match. There's no absolute guarantee that Joao Pedro will be available for this match against Ipswich. Obviously, it's good news that he said the scan went well. Otherwise, then we would be a bit concerned. But there's still absolutely, as I say, no guarantee that Joao Pedro will be available to play this match against Ipswich next, because Brighton have got a lot of options in the forward area. They could easily just rest him and he might even be on the bench. But it's good news. I wouldn't be selling Joao Pedro just because he might be a doubt for the game. If you've got somebody else on the bench as well to potentially come in for him, then you're fine. But I would just be starting Joao Pedro and basically hoping for the best. If he's on the bench, it is what it is. There's nothing really you can do about it. But you just got to hope the best, I feel, with Joao Pedro, because I don't think he'll be out for long. So now on to the Newcastle situation. They have a few injuries that they picked up against in the FA Cup and over the FA Cup. Eddie Howe let us know. And one of them being Jacob Murphy. We'll talk about Isak in detail in a second. But Jacob Murphy has apparently picked up a calf injury, and he could potentially be a doubt for the Newcastle match against Wolves. But we'll wait and see. It doesn't sound like it's too serious with Jacob Murphy. So if you're Jacob Murphy owner again, I wouldn't be selling him. But obviously it's not the most ideal news that you see. He's picked up a calf injury. So here is the latest update on Alexander Isak. Now, Eddie Howe did say, I wouldn't say it's major injury news. So basically said it's nothing too serious. But this is then going on to what he said with Jacob Murphy. He said he felt something in his calf, so they withdrew him, they took him off. Same with Joe Wilson, they got rid of him as well. And then the same with Botman. Botman had a complaint with his groin, but again, we're not really too bothered about that. But here is the interesting news. So it said the same with Alexander Isak. We hope he will be okay. Now, I personally think from this, Alexander Isak will be available to play the match against Wolves, but Will he be able to play the full 90 minutes is another question. If we're going to be thinking about captaining him this week, I mean, obviously, if he had no injury doubts at all, you'd pretty much know that Isak will be playing the full 90 minutes. But if he does have a slight knock, it's a hamstring as well, so they've definitely got to take more care as it's a hamstring injury over another injury, over a slight knock. That hamstring is very important. Isak's such a key player to the way that Newcastle play, and he's probably the best forward in the league right now. Him and Haaland are definitely top two anyway. So Newcastle will need Isak to be available, but as I say, because he's so important to them. So in a game against Wolves where you'd expect Newcastle to get through that, you expect Newcastle to be winning that game quite comfortably, to be honest, the chances are, I think there's a chance in Isak being withdrew early in that match. And if Isak's getting withdrew early, you would rather, for me anyway, I think I'd prefer to have a 90-minute guaranteed Mo Salah, who's been rested at the weekend as well, over an Alexander Isak who could potentially get 70 minutes. But let me know what you think of that. And obviously, there's no guarantee that he might not even start the game. He might be on the bench, and then you're sat there worrying about if he comes on, then you're not even going to get a vice captaincy chance either. So there's multiple reasons to be put off Isak, but it's still not enough for me to be 100% put off on him. But it definitely does throw a spanner in the works. And you do know with Mo Salah, you've got a guaranteed 90 minutes pretty much. It is a tougher fixture against Nottingham Forest, who have impressed so much this season. It's a shame because Wolves is a great fixture for Newcastle. It just is a slight put off, and people will definitely be put off by this 100%. For me personally, I just don't know if I want to captain a player that's not guaranteed to play the full 90 minutes. And he's not even guaranteed to be in the starting 11 at this point because it is a hamstring injury. As I say, if it was another injury, something else, I might not be as concerned, but hamstring is something that they've got to take very seriously. Isak's been a player that's been injured a few times for Newcastle as well. They definitely won't want to be losing him long term. So I do think they're going to be probably quite cautious about his minutes in this Wolves game, especially if Newcastle do go, say, 1 or 2 goals up. I think Isak will be withdrawn quite early just due to the fact of this injury. But let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Drop a like if you've enjoyed the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as well for all the latest injury news and updates on FPL. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.